Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. It's Tuesday night. Thursday night. It's our Women's Advanced Bible Study night. Okay, 27th of June, 2024. Last couple of nights we was dealing with the Book of Tobit, and we tied it into how we tied it into the Nineveh, and how we tied it into the 10 tribes. So I'm gonna read out of the book of. I kind of alluded to the Book of Esther, but what I'm gonna do tonight is go into the Book of Esther, and we'll read it, and we'll see how a lot of the things that we saw that was mentioned, names, places that was in the Book of Tobit. It's gonna tie it to also the Book of Esther, but we'll do that tonight. Excuse me. Introduction to Prophets of Awakening. You can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos. We have over 1,000 videos uh, with all kind of information that will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. And our hours that we on the air live is Tuesday nights, Wednesday nights, and Thursday nights from 7 to 9 Central Time. Then Friday night we have our Men's Advanced Bible Study, and it's on Clubhouse. And the title of the room is Non-Messianic Conversation. And then we have 2 Shabbat classes on the Sabbath on Saturday, one in the morning from 10 to 12 Central Time, a.m. Then we close out the Shabbat in the evening from 6 to 7. Normally it's about an hour. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. By that we mean that we deal with the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament, and we deal with the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Old Testament. Don't subscribe to the New Testament. Don't subscribe to Jesus the Christ or his apostles. You know, that's a story for another nation. Okay. Shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our Women's Advanced Bible Study. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, Psalms. We have some women's help. Then we go into some current events, a little need to know information, and we'll open it up for some Q&A. And then we go into our topic, which is, I said earlier, we were dealing with the Book of Esther and showing its relationship to Tobit, Book of Tobit. Okay. The moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Oh Lord, I pray unto the Lord my God, and we make our confessions, O Lord, great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love thee, and to them that keep thy commandments. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us a confusion of face, as it is this day, to the men of Judah, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and in all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven us, because of our trespass that we have trespassed against thee. As it is written in the laws of Moses, all his evils come upon us in the land of our captivity, here in the Americas, Caribbean, Great Britain, and Africa. O Lord, according to all thy righteousness, I beseech thee, and let thine anger and thy fury be turned away from thy city, Jerusalem, and thy people, and thy holy mountain. O Lord, hear this prayer, cause thy face to shine upon thy sanctuary and thy people for your sake. O Lord, open thine eyes and incline thy ears to hear and behold our condition. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do, and defer not, for thy own sake. For thy people and your land need you desperately at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. I'm going to read the Psalms.
Yes, shalom, everyone. I'll be reading Psalm 63, and it reads, O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches, because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee, my right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword, they shall be a portion for foxes. But the king shall rejoice in God. Every one that sweareth by him shall glory, but the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. And that was Psalm 63. Shalom.
Okay, yeah, I want to shine a light on verse 6. And then, just, I can relate to it. It says, when I remember thee upon my bed, and I meditate on thee in the night watch. So that's at night. A lot of times, mostly it's they call it the bewitching hour, like a couple of hours, 2, 3 hours before daybreak. And if you go back to the story when Jacob wrestled with the angel, it was at the same time. Uh, the angel told him let him loose so he can go because day was breaking. That's that bewitching hour. When you really searching out the scriptures and all that, and seeking certain revelations or understanding on certain things. Normally, it comes in that time at night, right before daybreak. Okay. So anybody else have anything on that? Okay. We got our women's health.
Yes, sir. Shalom, everyone. Please note that the information that is shared is intended for general, informational, and educational purposes only and is not medical advice or recommended treatment. Tonight's discussion is on the benefits of blackberries. Blackberries are one of the most nutritious choices of fruit. These little blackberries are just as delicious as they are healthy, which explains their popularity. Blackberries are a dark, edible berry that grows throughout the world. Once ripe, blackberries have a soft texture and a sweet and juicy taste, somewhat like raspberries, but with a slightly different flavor. Blackberries have several interesting health benefits, ranging from their nutrient values to potential benefits from the phytonutrients they contain. Phytonutrients are chemical compounds produced by plants and are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory benefits. Blackberries are a rich source of vitamin C. Vitamin C is an essential vitamin that plays an antioxidant role in the body, and it helps with strengthening the immune system and enhancing the immune response, protecting the body's cells against free radical induced damage. It is high in manganese. Manganese is a mineral that plays an important role in the skeleton system. As part of this, a sufficient intake of manganese helps with, uh,
Magnesium.
no, it's called manganese. It's different from magnesium.
Right.
It's a different one. Yes, sir. Um, it keeps the bones and cartilage strong and healthy. It regulates blood glucose levels and absorption of dietary calcium. It's a great source of vitamin K1. Vitamin K provides numerous protective effects on the body. For example, the vitamin helps with blood clotting. Blackberries are low in carbohydrates, calories, and high in fiber. Although blackberries contain beneficial nutrients, I did not know this one, they are also a source of fructose, which is fruit sugar. In reasonable serving size, this is nothing to worry about, but hundreds of grams of these berries per day would be overdoing it. The serving size of anything from half a cup to 1 cup is good. I will be reading Proverbs chapter 27, verses 1 through 7, the wrath of a fool. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest what a day may bring forth. Let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger and not thine own lips. A stone is heavy, and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous, but who is able to stand before envy? Open rebuke is better than secret love. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful. The full soul loatheth and honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. Tonight's discussion was on the benefits of blackberries, and I read Proverbs chapter 27, verses 1 through 7. Shalom, everyone.
Okay. Appreciate that information. We go to our current events.
FaceTime my sister Joyce.
Weeks away from getting into the war. That is what we're hearing from U.S. intelligence, that the United States is just 3 weeks away from getting into the middle of another war. At the same time, the war between Russia and Ukraine is only ramping up. At the same time that the United States has been threatened by Iran, North Korea, Russia, and China. Right now, the U.S. is in the middle of a potential world war. So I'm going to break down what's going on, what just happened the other day between the U.S. Chief and also the Russian chief as well, break down what was said and why tensions at this time are actually higher than we've ever seen before. So I'm going to break all that down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. So obviously, it's never good when we are discussing another war. And it doesn't have to only include the United States, even if it includes other countries. Just look at this. This is what the United States is predicting. U.S. intel indicates war between Israel and Hezbollah is inching closer. This is according to the State Department. They said this just the other day. Now, what's troubling about all this is that the U.S. is predicting that we will see another war with Hezbollah in the next few weeks if a Gaza ceasefire isn't reached. Well, here's what you need to understand about that. The problem is that there will likely not be a ceasefire in Gaza. And so there will be a war with Hezbollah. Now, here's the issue, and this is one of the reasons why the United States has been put on high alert, is because there are sleeper cells within the U.S. of Hezbollah. Okay? Hezbollah has people here in the United States that are just waiting, just being patient for the right time to potentially attack. This is one of the reasons why the FBI has been saying for over a year that tensions are extremely high. We need to be vigilant, and we need to say something if we see something. The Department of Homeland Security, the exact same. They've been warning people for over a year. Now, it's not just Israel and Hezbollah. It's also Russia. Look at this. Vladimir Putin sparks World War III fears as a diplomat warns use of weapons on the agenda. We have been somewhat fearful of what Vladimir Putin is about to do. One of the reasons why is because his health is a factor. Vladimir Putin is likely not going to be around in the next 10 to 15 years. And because of that, Experts believe he is trying to make a statement. And if he's on his way out, he is going to make the statement of his lifetime. That's concerning because, as this diplomat warns, there will be use of weapons. Now, the problem that we're facing is that the United States and Russia haven't talked for quite a while. Well, this is now over because they did have a discussion just the other day. Now, the reason why, again, I'm bringing this to your attention is because Russia has said that they're open to dialogue with the United States. That's according to the Kremlin. It says President Putin recently signed a defense agreement with North Korea, said he might reconsider Russia's doctrine on nuclear weapon use. Now, if this happens, okay. But what we need to understand is that if the United States and Russia are not talking, that's where there's going to be issues. There's going to be miscommunication or a miscalculation of some kind. Well, through this article, it says Ukraine war briefing, U.S. and Russian defense chiefs speak amid recent rise in tensions. It says the conversation between Lloyd Austin and Andrei Belousov was the first such call in over a year. What we know on day 854. Keep in mind that Russia was going to invade Ukraine, and some people said this is going to last maybe 30 to 60 days. Others said, oh, this could probably be anywhere between 4 to 8 months. A few people said, oh, it's going to last a year. Nobody thought we were coming up on 3 years. Nobody expected that. That is the problem. But the United States and Russia have not discussed much. Now they're discussing a potential war, a regional war, or potentially a world war. This is why I'm telling you to prepare for war, because this is exactly what many U.S. Intelligence officers are saying, is that it's going to happen. And it's going to include the U.S. Because even if it's just Israel and Hezbollah, Russia and Ukraine, the United States is going to jump in. The United States will always have some part of this because of all the allies that we have. We're going to send assistance, we're going to send weapons, we're going to sanction other countries, or, and hopefully we don't, but we could send troops and put U.S. troops on the ground to fight against Russian soldiers or Hezbollah. If that happens, well, it's going to be devastating, but one of the reasons why it would be very devastating is because we don't have the current numbers in the U.S. military that we once did. Well, is this one of the reasons why the U.S. House passed a bill to include or to require that men age 18 to 26 are automatically registered for selective service? And is this why Democrats came out and wanted to ensure that women have the exact same right, and they too, between 18 and 26, have to and are automatically registered with selective service? Potentially. Well, we don't know. Look at this. It says Russian military expert suggests Kremlin plans nuclear strikes on U.S. ships. This was about a week ago. The problem that we're facing, again, is that Russia continues to threaten the United States. All it takes is it go from a threat to action, and then again, we will be in a world war. Now, I personally don't believe we are headed towards a massive world war, because I don't think Russia, China, and the United States at this time have what it takes to survive and thrive from a world war. The entire world would be devastated. But would any of these countries benefit from a world war? The answer is no. Russia wouldn't benefit by attacking the United States. The U.S. isn't going to benefit by attacking Russia or China. China's not going to benefit.
Okay, any comments on that?
Shalom. I think when they said that he might be sick, I saw on one of the Newsline magazines that said, "Is Putin sick, or we meant, or we are meant to think he is. He, and then they mention that he has this blood cancer, but they don't mention what kind of cancer it is. So by him mentioning that he's sick and thinking that he would be gone in the next 10 to 15 years, that would probably give whoever is allies with him a concern, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think to me that's propaganda because about 5 to 10 years ago they said the same thing. That Putin was sick on his deathbed and all that, you know. So I think that's the West with their propaganda, you know.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy here. So the U.S. House of Representatives has passed a new military draft bill. Are they preparing for war?
Yeah.
Is a big question going on a lot of people's minds with the new election coming up, with a war already going on in Ukraine, which the U.S. recently passed billions of dollars of new funding for. Vladimir Putin is obviously not very happy with this. And another major war going on in Israel and Palestine. Two major world wars going on with many different countries involved in. And now the U.S. passes in the House of Representatives a new military draft rule of law. The Senate is now considering it. I'll give you the details on this. And women may be required in this military draft in certain states. I'll give you the details of all that in this video and the newest details on this. Here we go. Let's jump right in. Thank you so much for liking these videos. You might want to share this with a lot of people. Here we go. The military has had recruitment shortfalls for several years in a row. And only 23% of young
Okay.
qualify for the military. And a lot of this is because of recruiting challenges are complex and multifaceted. And now Congress has passed this new military draft bill and rule of law in the House of Representatives. Here, take a look at the actual video of this bill passing.
On this vote, the yeas are 217, the nays are 199. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Now, the interesting part about this, and again, I don't know if you're Republican or Democrat or Independent or whatever, but this is how the vote went. You guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. 211 Republicans voted yes for this bill. 3 voted no. 4 of them abstained from voting. Only 6 Democrats voted yes, and 196 voted no. So basically, it's the Republicans that voted yes and passed this new bill for the military draft in the House of Representatives. You can see here the House passes the defense bill, automatically will register men for the draft for ages 18 to 26 and will automatically register men. This will have to go to the Senate still for consideration. This would expand the military draft to age 26 and automatically register men. Okay? The Senate still has to consider this and would expand the military draft up to age 26. Okay? Remember, Democrats mostly voted against this and didn't want to pass this. Republicans voted for this and passed this bill. Okay? This begs the question, is the U.S. preparing for war? Remember, we already have the war with Ukraine and Russia, which the U.S. is largely involved in. We already have the war with Israel and Palestine and Hamas, which the U.S. is involved in. And we also have the fear that China will try to take over Taiwan, which the U.S. is already involved in with the U.S.-Taiwan Relations Act, which Congress passed many years ago, which basically says that the U.S. has to help defend Taiwan in multiple different ways, and there's multiple different ways to, interpret that. President Biden has already said that we would put boots on the ground, U.S. boots on the ground, to defend Taiwan. He said that publicly. So the question here is the U.S. preparing for war? Is a good question. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. No.
Okay. My question is, any comments on the decision that they're trying to make on women going into the army and fighting? Anybody have comments on that? Think about it.
Shalom. I haven't heard any comments on it. All I know that they said they will do that the people the men that's automatic, and if the women do also, that they would, the ones turning 18 won't go in, they just be on there all the way up to 20. Their names will just be there until the ones that is 21, 22, and so forth. Once they're called, then the others will be called um, at that, age of 20 on and go down. As far as the women, I think they're putting that in for the fact that to get the men to join now, or have them started getting in, going and just volunteering because they don't want their sisters or something to be in the service. I don't know why they're saying the women, even the women do volunteer, and saying that they're going to draft the women too, because you know, I don't know if there's more women out there who has children, and if they have to have dependents take care of their children, or someone take care of their children, if they're drafted into the service automatically, and they have kids with, if they're not married, or they have the only son, um, if they're going to go through that, if that's their only daughter, can they draft an only child into the service? There's a lot of things that they haven't mentioned about that, as far as the women and um, the women going in, as they used to treat the men. If you're only son, you are not drafted in, or if you're the only, um, I think that's right. If you're the only son, you're not drafted into the service. So would that still apply to the women if they automatically drafting these females into the service?
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. So me looking at that, the last draft that happened, I think during the Vietnam War, World War II, one, yeah. It wasn't no women's lib, and so now that they have this women's lib thing going, where they want equal rights as a man, equal pay, and all that. So it's like it's a big difference in the draft back then and the draft now. So, yeah, so it's just a lot of things to be considered, but I mean, they pretty much to the Supreme Court they made it's like a gender blur. Everybody's supposed to be everybody the same. As far as the way that America is involved. So yeah, I'll tell you what, it's going to be drama whenever if it do go through, and once it start being implemented, it's going to be a whole bunch of sobbing. Okay. So with that being said, I'll deal with this right here. Some need to know information. So it's pretty interesting.
inhabited by a wide variety of peoples. Although most of these populations have Semitic origins and share ethnic and linguistic similarities, there are many cultural and historical distinctions among them. One particularly famous area of the Middle East is present-day Saudi Arabia, which has been inhabited since ancient times by various tribes descended from Abraham. If you think I'm talking about the Ishmaelites, you're mistaken. In this video, we'll discuss where the descendants of Abraham and Keturah are and who they are currently. To find out where they really went in the Middle East, stay tuned for this channel's content. Where are and who are the descendants of Abraham and Keturah today? We know that Abraham lived to the impressive age of 175. Although his first son was not Isaac but Ishmael, the child of promise was indeed Isaac. However, did you know that Abraham had more children and wives after the death of his beloved Sarah? And I'm not talking about Hagar. The Bible mentions another woman, who became Abraham's second wife and bore him many children. Yes, even after 100 years old, Abraham continued to have children, which may seem surprising to some, but it was common in the region and at the time. Abraham, well over 130 years old, still had several children. An interesting fact is that Isaac was already married at that time to his beloved Rebekah. However, Rebekah was barren and had no children. Abraham, even in his old age, was still having children with his second wife. But who was this woman whom Abraham took as his wife? What was her origin and where did she come from? It's intriguing to note that when Abraham sent his servant Eliezer in search of a wife for his son Isaac, Eliezer returned with a woman accompanied by servants from the region of Aram, the land of the Arameans and relatives of Abraham. The name of this woman is Keturah, an Aramaic and also Eblite name. The meaning of the name Keturah, derived from ancient Aramaic and Eblite, is promised or bound. We know that Keturah was a woman of Aramaic origin because of her name, which already indicated her ethnic origin. Many believe that Keturah came from the land of Aram, arriving with Rebekah as one of her servants or even as a lady-in-waiting, considering Rebekah's importance in the land of Aram. The land of Aram, also known as Aram, was an ancient region located in the Mesopotamian region, now part of Syria, Turkey, and Iraq. It was inhabited by Semitic peoples, mainly Arameans, who spoke a Western Semitic language. Aram was a strategic and historically important region, situated between the empires of Mesopotamia, such as Assyria and Babylonia, and the civilizations of the Eastern Mediterranean, such as the Hittites and the Egyptians. This geographical position made Aram frequently a stage for conflicts and cultural exchanges between these different powers. The Arameans were a nomadic people who had inhabited the region since ancient times, but from the 12th century BC, they began to settle in cities and form organized states. One of the most prominent Aramene kingdoms was the Kingdom of Aram-Damascus, which flourished between the 9th and 8th centuries BC. Its capital, Damascus, became a prosperous city and a center of trade and culture. The Aramaic language became a lingua franca in the Mesopotamian and Levantine regions during ancient times, and its influence extended even beyond the borders of the land of Aram. Aramaic was widely used in administration, trade, and diplomacy, and it was also the language in which significant portions of the Old Testament were written. The land of Aram played a crucial role in the ancient history of the Middle East, both as a center of political power and as a cultural bridge between different civilizations in the region. Several important biblical characters have their origins associated with the land of Aram. The biblical narrative in the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verses 1 and 2, tells the following about Abraham. Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua, totaling 6 sons. Jokshan fathered Sheba and Dedan, and the descendants of Dedan were the Ashurim, Letushim, and Lumim. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. The descendants of Keturah and Abraham are often confused with those of Hagar, Abraham's Egyptian concubine. It is essential to clarify that Keturah and Hagar are distinct figures, with different origins, names, and meanings. Hagar was the mother of Ishmael, who gave rise to the Ishmaelites, forming 12 tribes that inhabited the region. Keturah, on the other hand, was Abraham's second wife, and her sons were Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Hagar, after leaving with Ishmael, became the ancestor of other peoples, with the Ishmaelites being her direct descendants. If you want to learn more about the 12 tribes of Ishmael, we have a video on our channel that explores this topic in detail. Hagar, after Ishmael grew up and became a strong man, married again. With this new husband, she gave birth to another people, who came to bear her name. This people, known as the Hagrites or Hagarenes, are mentioned several times in the scriptures. Unlike the Ishmaelites, the Hagrites did not descend from Ishmael but were related to him. While Ishmael was a descendant of Abraham and Hagar, the Hagrites were only descendants of Hagar. We've covered the tribe of the Hagrites in a video on our channel. The scriptures mention the fate of the children that Abraham had with Keturah and what inheritance he left them. In the text of Genesis, chapter 25, verses 5 and 6, it is written that Abraham gave all his possessions to Isaac. In the case of his other sons, the text states that Abraham gave them gifts and sent them, while still alive, away from Isaac, to the east, to the land of the east. These gifts were substantial fortunes, and thus, Abraham's sons went to the region we now know as Saudi Arabia. We know it is Saudi Arabia because the territory where these tribes, descendants of Abraham and Keturah, settled corresponds to the area of present-day Saudi Arabia. These tribes, known as the Keturaites or Midianites, are among the 6 tribes descended from Abraham. The term Midianites is used broadly to encompass all the other tribes, as they were the most prominent among Abraham's descendants, besides the Ishmaelites. Therefore, when we inquire about the fate of the descendants of Abraham and Keturah, the answer is that they settled in Saudi Arabia. The Midianites, descendants of Abraham and Keturah, are the ancestors of the Saudi Arabs. In addition to Midian, Abraham had 5 other sons with Keturah. Biblical texts indicate that the Midianites formed alliances with other lineages descended from Abraham. For example, the Ishmaelites, descendants of Ishmael, developed close ties with the Midianites, their relatives. Often, the Midianites and Ishmaelites are mentioned together in genealogies due to their alliances and intermarriage, demonstrating the interaction and exchange between these lineages descended from Abraham.
Okay. Any comments on that? You got to learn anything? Okay, yeah. So what stuck out to me was if you go to Psalms 83, right quick. If you go to Psalms 83, something to harp on. So you want to do some further research on it. Psalms 83, it says that it keep thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So when you go down to verse 6, you can see who the Lord's enemies are. And the reason they're the Lord's enemy because they have a problem with Israel. So they automatically become the Lord's enemy. So it says, Tabernacle of Edom, the Israelites, we know what that is, right? That's Ishmael's children. Then Moab, and then look at Hagarine. I never had really looked at that word, but that's Hagar is in that word. Hagarines. And I don't see nowhere else in the scriptures where they have a race of people named after a woman. But right here, we got the Hagarines. I looked at that, but I never really paid no attention to it. But it says, got Hagar. Hagar is the first part of that word. Anybody else noticed that before?
No, sir, I never have.
Yeah, ain't that something?
It
You've
is.
been reading that
Do some
forever
research
and
on that.
day. Yeah, Hagarines. You've been reading that forever and never saw that. Ain't that something? Okay, open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions about last couple of days or anything they came across they want to bring out? Thing they want to discuss? Okay, we don't. Play this right here, and then we're going to Book of Ester.
Transform your hair with hair growth products by 12 Tribes on Earth. Just look for the links in the comments section. Malta said the presidential debate this week, they excluded all of Black American media, but they included a bunch of foreign reporters. You know, this just goes to show you neither Trump nor Biden. See, they want the Black vote, but they don't want to hear from you. They don't want your questions. They don't want you to say anything, but you go and vote for both of them. And how bad did Biden claim he needed that Black vote? But I guess he don't need it at all, y'all. I guess he don't need it that badly. And do you hear any of them raising their voices about this? No, neither side. But they'll be dead in your face talking about vote for them. Disrespectful. CNN excludes Black American media from 2024 presidential debate in Atlanta, of all places. Atlanta. But approve credentials for reporters from other countries. You don't hear nothing from the Democratic Party on this, right? James Clyburn is running around talking about misinformation, disinformation, whatever. But he's not running around talking about this, is he? Reporters from abroad whose reader demographics are less likely to vote in the coming election were informed and granted media credentials this week for the presidential debate hosted by CNN, but Black media were not. So I guess it's going to be, a sea of white reporters here in America and a bunch of foreigners? Wow. Don't come to us talking about things have changed. Ain't changed that damn much. According to a source close to the credentialing process, about 600 national and international outlets receive media credentials for the June 27th event. None of them are Black owned, despite hosting a presidential debate within 3 miles of a Black owned and Black led media outlet in Atlanta. CNN did not extend an invite to the event to a locally based publication catering to a Black audience. Thursday's debate will take place at CNN studios in Midtown Atlanta. You know how many Black people and Black reporters are down in Atlanta? They could have had plenty of them there. And they said CNN is within jogging distance of Atlanta Voice and Atlanta Black Star, 2 Black publications based in the same city. However, neither publication received a press release or any other communication regarding media access for the debate that could help determine the outcome of this year's presidential election. Well, I guess they don't want the Black vote that bad, huh? It was disrespectful. I thought it was very tacky not to invite the Black newspaper. I thought that was just cheap and typical of CNN. Atlanta Voice editor-in-chief Donnell Suggs. This is what he said in a phone interview. According to an email from CNN, there was a June 7th deadline for members of the media to request credentials to attend and cover the event. But Atlanta Voice and Atlanta Black Star said they weren't even aware of this deadline until editors from both publications individually reached out to CNN representative in the past week because they didn't want you to know. They don't want you there.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody familiar with that?
First time I'm hearing of that.
Yeah, ain't that something? Yeah, they like she said, they want your vote so bad, but they don't really want it. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Right.
It's 2024. Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna go and we're gonna read out the Book of Esther. Like I said, I'm gonna do it as we go. We'll be stopping and starting, and I'll be shining the light on a lot of things that came up in the Book of Tobit over the last couple of days and how it's all related. Like I said before, you don't really see these things because they've taken out the Apocrypha, they've taken out the Book of Tobit and all that, so you can't, nobody can really, unless you're thinking like a Hebrew, you're not gonna really see these things. So we'll get Michelle to read the first couple of chapters, then we'll go on from there. If other people that want to read, you can read. Okay.
Yes, sir. Esther chapter 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even to Ethiopia, over 107 provinces. That in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the province being before him. When he
Okay,
showed the rich,
right there. So see that? They go media. Ain't that where Ragu was at? Ragu and Tobias.
yes, sir.
See that? Persian and Media. Okay, so they want you, like I said before, they want you to think that these things happen as hundreds of years apart, or these people was over here and that's over there. This is the same region right here. We're Esther in that. See that? And this Persian Media is the second beast. So all that happened is when the second beast came on the scene, they still was in the same geographical location. It's just that Cyrus took over. So like I said, the tribe wasn't lost. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 4. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days, and when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also, Vashti the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus. 10. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded, forgive me if I mess these names up, uh, Mehuman, Bethstha, Harbona, Bigatha, and Abagath, Zethar, and Carcass, the seven chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to
Okay,
bring.
do that ring a bell? Read 10 again.
Okay, verse 10. On the seventh day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, um, Bethstha, Harbona, Bigath, and Abagatha, Zethar, and Carcass, the seven chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king.
And it's seven angels in the presence of Yahweh.
Of the yes,
Yes, sir.
You think that's a coincidence?
it's not.
It's not.
Not a coincidence. So, uh, and not only that, it says, look at it, it says on the seventh day, then it says when the king's heart was merry. So when I read that right there, ain't that what Esther did? I mean not Esther, but uh Naomi, when she sent what's it, Ruth. Well, Naomi was Ruth sent Naomi's Ruth. Uh, Naomi sent Ruth to go and ball up at the feet of Boaz whenever he was uh, his heart was merry with wine. Remember that?
Sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 11, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on. But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment with his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner towards all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Karshina, Zethar, Amatha, Tarshish, Mears, Marcina, and Memucan, the seven princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. What shall we do unto Queen Vashti according to law? Because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains. And Memucan answered before the king and the princess, Vashti the queen had not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the province of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. When it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall all Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment for him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the kings give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husband honor, but to great and small. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king province, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people.
Okay, so that was chapter 1, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is something right here to consider. So it was a law. They had it's a certain way that women conducted themselves uh, in kingdom according to the Medes and Persians, right? And stated right here, she didn't. She disrespected the king. But my point is this: you go to verse 17, it says, "Thus this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women." So her acts is going to affect other women if they don't get it straight. So it says so that they should dispense their husbands in their eyes and in their eyes when it shall be reported. The king of Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought before him, but she did not come. Now 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princesses, which have heard deeds of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. So my point is this right here, which I think a lot of people don't consider. So the kingdom that's in heaven, this kingdom right here is pretty much patterned after it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so Yahweh, right, in heaven, who is this subject? We see right here, these Medes and Persians, people of Media and Persia, uh, King Ahasuerus subjects. And he concerned about them, especially the men, if the order being produced. So Yahweh, he got a kingdom. His subjects is the angels in heaven. He got Yahweh, he got the Lord of hosts ruling over them, but his kingdom is the angels. Let that firmate. Just like down here, like before the Medes and Persians came, you had the Babylonians, the Chaldeans. So Nebuchadnezzar ruled over the Chaldeans. So Yahweh in heaven, which is a place, which is a kingdom, is angels there. He ruling over the angels. You get it. So the same thing we see right here, where King Ahasuerus got 7 chamberlains, and those men are responsible for judgment in his kingdom. So we got Yahweh in heaven with angels is in his kingdom, and he got 7 angels, and they're responsible for judgment. So, like I was saying before, that's why Michael is that great angel, because not only do he rule, he ruled and responsible for judgment over Yahweh's kingdom, but all the kingdoms on the earth too, both heaven and earth. Okay, let that frame. Anybody got any questions, comments? You gotta let that frame. Like I said before, his responsibility and the things that he deal with is in heaven, and that's why he chose. He can't. Those angels will have the ability to come before him, because we see in Job, they come before him, they present themselves, and Lucifer, Samuel came amongst them when they presented themselves. Well, men can't present themselves to the Yahweh. That's the purpose of the Lord of hosts. That's why his authority and his role extends both in heaven and upon the earth. Okay, chapter 2.
Uh, Chapter 2. After these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, Let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that he may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Hedge, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things for purification be given them. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so. Now in Shushan, the palace, where was there a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, and the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had carried away with Jochanan, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the son of Babylon, had carried away. And he brought up Hadash, that is, Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maiden was fair and beautiful. When her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when many maidens were gathered together unto Shushan the palace, to the custody of Hagar, that Esther was brought unto the king's house, to the custody of Hagar, keeper of the women. Verse 9. And the maiden pleased him, and she obtained kindness of him, and he speedily gave her her things for purification, with such things as belonged to her, and 7 maidens which were met to be given her out of the king's house. And he preferred her and her maidens unto the best place of the house of the women. Esther had not shown her people nor her kindred, for Mordecai had charged her that she could not show it. And Mordecai walked every day before the count of the women's house, to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Now, when her maiden's turn was come to go into the king's Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purification accomplished, to wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things that the purifying of the women. Then thus came every maiden unto the king. Whosoever she desired was given her to go with her out of the house of the women unto the king's house. In the evening she went, and on the morning she returned into the second house of the women, to the custody of Shejaz, the king's chamberlain, which kept the concubines. She came in unto the king no more, except the king delighted in her, and that she were called by name. Verse 15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what the Hagar, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women's, appointed. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all of them that looked upon her. So Esther was taken unto the king Ahasuerus into his house, and royal in the 10th month, which is in the 10th Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And in the king and the king loved Esther above all women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Then
Okay,
the
so
okay, yes, sir.
let's look at chapter verse 6. You can see that 6 and 7, Esther comes out of David lineage. It says, who had been carried away. Okay, this is when Nebuchadnezzar came, and who had carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jehoiakim, Jeconiah. So Jeconiah is out of David's lineage. That Jeconiah is part of the sea royal. Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had carried away, and he brought up Hadassah, his Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair, so she's out of David's lineage. Okay,
Yes,
just want
sir.
to shine light on that. So this is that's something to think about. Yeah, verse 18.
Yes, sir. Verse 18. Then the king made a great feast unto all his princes and his servants, even Esther's feast. And he made a release to the province and gave gifts according to the state of the king. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. Esther had not yet showed her kindred, nor her people of Mordecai had charged her. For Esther did the commandment of Mordecai, like as when she was brought up with him. In those days, when Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chambermaids, Bithon and Teresh, of those which kept the door, were wroth sought to lay hands on the king's Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus, Ahasuerus. And the thing was known to Mordecai, who told it unto Esther the queen. And Esther certified the king thereof in Mordecai's name. And when inquisition was made of the matter, it was found out. Therefore there were both hanged on a tree, and it was written in the book of Chronicles before the king.
Okay, so we go back up to verses 21. In those days, while Mordecai sat in the king's gate, two of the king's chamberlain. So there's two of those seven men trying to kill Ahasuerus. If you look at that, beat them, and Chisholm, you go back to where he named the seven chamberlains, and you see both of their names. So two of these seven trying to kill, they're trying to kill the king. Okay, and there's something. So Mordecai uncovered it on behalf of the king. He uncovered it, and he went and informed the king about it. Okay, somebody else want to read chapter 3? You gonna start back over? You gonna read, Michelle?
Yes, sir. Esther chapter 3. After these things did King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the
Yeah,
king's
let's look at that word. Let's look at that word again. We just uncovered Hagar, the Hagarites, right? We saw Hagar name in there, right?
yes, sir.
Look at his name you just mentioned. Agites. Who is that? Agag. See that? Agag was in
Yeah,
that name.
and Sam, the book, is it Book of Samuel?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so.
Agag is
Yeah.
the king.
Mm-hmm.
The king that
Mm-hmm.
Saul allowed to live,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So you have to ask yourself, how do you get an Agite if they killed all the Agites and they killed the
Right.
king? So when you go to the book of Esther, go to the Visions of Esther. They got a book in the Apocrypha called Editions of Esther. You tell the story how not only did Saul save Agag, but he saved his wife. And his wife was pregnant. And when he brought him back, before Samuel came in there and killed the king, his wife had escaped in the night. And that's where his boy come from, that Haman. You can go read that in the Editions of Esther. It's one of the books of the Apocrypha. Go ahead.
Verse 2. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did he reference, whew, nor did him reference. Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told him to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reference, then was Haman full of wrath. 6. And he thought scorned to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first
Right. So
month,
now we see why. Now you see why. See, he's the son of Agag. His wife fled, so he got a bad taste in his mouth about the Israelites because of what they did to his people and they did to his daddy Agag. That's why he wanted to destroy them. A lot of people don't understand where his hatred is coming from, but that's because he's out of the lineage of Agag. Keep going.
7. In the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month to the 12th month, that month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Keep the neither keep they the king's laws. Therefore it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it
Okay,
please the king.
let me get this right here. I got to get this because I'm always bringing it up. Remember the other day, and I went to Ezra, and Cyrus came out and fulfilled the prophecy of Daniel 9:25, and he said that uh, you that among me, that among my kingdom of all the Lord's people. So that's all 12 tribes, right?
Yes, sir.
Look at this. Read verse 8 again. Look what Haman says.
Verse 8. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the province of thy
See
kingdom,
that?
and their
See that?
laws. Yes, sir.
That all he says the same people, all the Jews. And
Right.
when we was reading Tobit, we see now they all over there. They all 12 tribes are there. Within those 120 some provinces, Assyria is a province, and Babylon is a province. The southern kingdom is up in that area up there where Babylon and Shushan at, and the 10 tribes is down in Assyria, down in the other province. They all there. Keep going.
They knew they was different from all the other people.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Right,
Mm-hmm.
all of them there though.
Mm.
They want you to
Verse.
think it's just Judah, Benjamin, Levi, but all of them
Right.
there. Like he's saying right here, all mean all. Go ahead.
Mm. Verse 9. And if it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring it into the king's treasuries. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of I'm going to say this word, Hamamadatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. 11. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. In the name of the king Ahasuerus was it written and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post to all the king's province to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews,
There
both
you go
young.
again. There you go again. All Jews. See
Mm-hmm.
that? All
Yes,
Israelites.
sir.
Go ahead.
To cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. 14. The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed.
Okay. Yeah, so it's showing shine a light on a couple of things. Verse 9, see if this ring a bell for anybody. It says 9. Remember, JC didn't exist. They was looking at the story came, they formulated the story from events and stories that happened in our history when they got hold of our records. So verse 9 says, if it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay. Look at this. I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business to bring in unto the king's treasure. Will that ring a bell for anybody? Okay. 10,000 talents of silver. What did not Barabbas, but can't think of his name. Judas.
Shalom. 30 pieces of silver.
There you go. There go the silver right here. Too. See that? So he said, I'll pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have charge of the business. So they're gonna pay them to assist them in destroying these Jews. So like I said, you can see how the story starts. When you understand what's going on, they formulate the story by reading our stories. They started slowly making the story up. Okay, anyway, so you go down to verse 13, and the letters were sent by the post, and all the king's provinces to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all the Jews, both young, old, little, children, and women. Now, what they want to do, they want to do all this in one day. See that? In one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take a spoil of them for a prey. So let's go back and look at what the Lord was going to do. Right? I mean, Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66. I'm in verse 5. This is the resurrection that's in Ezekiel 37. It says, hear the word of the Lord, ye that tremble at his word, your brethren that hated you, that cast you out for my name's sake, said, let the Lord be glorified, but he shall appear to your joy, and they shall be ashamed. A voice of noise from the city, a voice from the temple, a voice of the Lord that renders recompense to his enemies. Before she travailed, the she is of Israel, the land of Israel, she brought forth. Before pain came, she was delivered of a man child, David. So before he raised all our forefathers up out of their graves in Ezekiel 37, before he do that, he got to raise David up, the Messiah. 8. Who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth, there you go, in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as she travailed, she brought forth her children. So over here, Haman trying to destroy the Israelites in one day. The Most High over here, he's going to raise up the whole house of Israel just like that. Same way he delivered them out of Egypt overnight in one day. One day they was in captivity. The next day they was out. They was gone. And he told them, you're not going to see Egypt no more. So what we're looking at right now, we're coming up to the same thing. There's drama going on, but just like that, in one day, we finish reading it. So he says, read 8 again. Who have heard such a thing? Who have seen such a thing? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travaileth, so Everything was going on before this is over. She brought forth her children. Shall I bring to birth and not cause to bring forth, says the Lord God? Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, says the Lord God? Rejoice. So everything up until this point is over. Rejoice ye with Jerusalem. Be glad with her, all ye that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all ye that mourn for her, that ye may suck, and be satisfied with the breast of her consolation. That's all the prophets that we've been reading about and studying about. They all standing there. That ye may milk out and be delighted with the abundance of her glory. So my thing is this: are you going to be worried about anything that happened in the past once that happened? I know I
No,
am.
sir. Mm-mm.
No,
So
sir.
just like that. And like I said, it ain't nothing new. We did it in Egypt. Just like that. Everything that happened is in dust in the wind. Okay. So where we at? Chapter 4.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let me read the chapter. Break this up. So it's when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and he went out into the midst of the city, and he cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every providence, whether the king's a command and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in the sackcloth. So see right here, this is what I was telling you about how this is the book of Mordecai. It's actually the book of Mordecai. They twisted the line real quick, made it the book of Esther because of what they done in the New Testament. But notice right here, we see they tell us that JC is the Redeemer and JC is the deliverer. But when we go to Daniel chapter 12, we see that when Michael stand up, then shall the people be delivered. So right here, it's like when Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud voice. Same with Michael. See that? Then two, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, after he done this, in every province whatsoever or whatsoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, the Israelites, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So uh, Esther maids and her chamberlains came and told it her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she rent raiment to she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for let's see, for Hatach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him the commandment to Mordecai to know that it was and why it was. So Hatach went forth to Mordecai into the streets of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasurer for the Jews to be destroyed. See that? That's what I was talking about. The silver. Mordecai told him of all that happened unto him, and the sum of the money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasurer for the Jews to destroy them. So we see right here the story of JC being formulated right here. It's the 8. Also, he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given to Shushan to destroy them, and to show it to Esther and to declare it unto her and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplications unto him and to make requests before him for her people. And Haddock came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. See that? Had I came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again, Esther spake unto Hackett and gave him commandments under Mordecai. And all the king's servants and all the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, or whether man or woman, shall come in unto the king into the inner chamber, who is not called, there is one law of him to put him to death, except such as to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days. And they told it to Mordecai. They told to Mordecai Esther's word. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Israelites. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their enlargement and their deliverance arrive to the Israelites from another place. But thou and thy father's house, see that's why I was showing you that, thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. So who's the father's house? David. Yeah, nigga David. And we know David and anything finna get destroyed. Okay? So let's look at it. So it says, let me see. 14. For if thou altogether hold thy peace at this thing, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arrive to the Jews from another place, but thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the king for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them to return Mordecai this answer. Go gather together all the Jews, all the Israelites that are present in, see that? That's present in Shushan, right? That's just the ones in Shushan. And face ye for and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, neither days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way, indeed according to all that Esther had commanded him. Okay. Any comments on chapter 4? Anybody got any comments on chapter 4? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me see if we got time for another chapter. Okay. Somebody want to read chapter 5? We'll close out.
Yes, sir. Chapter 5. Now it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther, the queen, standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, what wilt thou, Queen Esther, and what is thy request? It shall be given, even given thee to the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered, if it seem good unto the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I have prepared for him. Then the king said, cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther hath said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said unto Esther at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then Esther, then answered Esther and said, my petition and my request is, if I have found favor in the sight of the king, and it pleases the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow's as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day, joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up, nor moved for him, he was full of indignation against Mordecai. 10. Nevertheless, Haman refrained himself, and when he came home, he sat and called for his friends and Zeresh, his wife. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said, moreover, yea, Esther the queen did not let no man come in with the king until the banquet that she had prepared, but myself, and tomorrow am I invited unto also with the king. Yet all the availeth me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting in the king's gate. Verse 14. Then said Zeresh, his wife, and all his friends unto him, let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, and tomorrow speak thou unto the king, that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go thou in merrily with the king unto the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made.
Right. So we see right here, just like I was showing you over in Book of Jasher, that like I said, these stories are hidden from us. But Zephno, one of Esau's sons, was uh, raised up second in charge, just like Joseph was raised second in charge. Zephno was raised second. So we see right here, just another one of Esau's sons right here, or descendants, Haman, and he tells you what happened in chapter 11, chapter 5, verse 11. And Haman told them of the glory of his riches. So see that, and the multitude of his children, and all the things wherein the king had promoted him. So just like the Pharaoh promoted Joseph, right here, Haman promoted. And it says, and now he had advanced him above the princes, the ones I was telling you about, the princes. So that means he's second in charge under Artaxerxes, right here. And then, but we know the story. What happened? You got Haman. I mean, the daughter host ended up bringing Mordecai to. Haman was killed, and Mordecai was brought up into. Mordecai was brought up just second in charge. We'll read verses chapter 6. We're gonna read chapter 6. Michelle name, but 14 verses, so we won't have that much to read to finish out later on.
Shalom, yes, sir. Esther chapter 6. On that day could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Cheresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keepers of the door, who sought to lay hand on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor and dignity hath been done to Mordecai for this? Then said the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. And the king said, who is in the court? Now Haman was come into the outward court of the king's house to speak unto the king to hang Mordecai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom would the king delight to do honor more than to myself? 7. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought which the king useth to wear, and the horse that the king rideth upon, and the crown royal which is set upon his head. and let his apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of one of the king's most noble princes, that they may array the man withal whom the king delighteth to honor, and bring him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaim before him, Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delighteth to honor. Then the king then the king said to Haman, Make haste and take the apparel and the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew that sitteth at the king's gate. Let nothing fail of all that thou hast spoken. Then took Haman the apparel and the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him on horseback through the street of the city, and proclaimed before him, Thus shall it be done unto the man whom the king delighted to honor. 12. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted to his house mourning, and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife, and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zeresh his wife unto him, If Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shall surely fall before him. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains, and hasted to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. That was Esther chapter 6.
Right. So notice how they had one thing planned and the Lord of hosts had something else planned. But notice what the guy said. This same guy, remember the Moabite told Hopham the same thing in the book of Judith. He says that he told Haman in verse 13. Haman told Zareth, his wife, and all his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men and Zerah, uh, his wife, under him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Israelites, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely die before him. That's what we have to keep in the back of our mind. No matter how it looks, we're going to eventually prevail. 14. And while they were yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlain and hastened to bring Haman unto the banquet that Esther had prepared. So, like I said before, no matter how it looks, this is how it operates right here. We know who we are. We know we're the chosen people of God. So, in the end, you know what I'm saying, we're going to prevail. But one of the things I want to shine light on before we go is I don't know if anybody peeped it out or not, but if you go to the Tobit, you might want to scramble through here, try to find it. I want to find it, shine light on it. So, if you notice, I don't know if anybody remember, but Haman's name came up in this book in Tobit. I think it's around
Yes,
that
sir, towards the last, maybe
around 8 or
before
9.
the last chapters.
When the
Yeah.
9, the second, that was Wednesday night we read that, right? Last night.
Yes, sir.
So, let me see. So, let me see what they said. And like I said, it just go right over people's head because of, they don't. Let me see.
I know it's in that in the last chapter we read. I know
The
he's in there.
last chapter told it.
Uh yes, sir. It said, My child, see what Haman did to Hakar, who
Where
had
it said,
brought him up 14 and 10, around 14 and 10, page 130.
says, let me see. Yeah, right, yeah, yeah. So uh, it says, but keep the law and the orders. I mean, 9, 14 and 9 says, but keep the law and the ordinances and the merciful upright, so that you may prosper. Bury me properly and my wife beside me, and do not leave any live any longer in Nineveh, a child. See what Haman did to Aqua. See that? They go Haman right there. So I'm telling you all this, it's all in the same place, same region, same area, all 12 tribes. Said who brought him up, how he plunged him from the light into darkness, and how he quitted him. Yet Akor was saved, and the others were recompensed and disappeared in the darkness himself. Manasseh gave to charity and escaped the fatal snare which Haman set for him, but Haman fell into the trap and perished. Uh, See, my children, what charity can do and how uprightness can save. As he said this, he breathed his last. Uh, he, he breathed his last there in his bed, and he was 158 years old, and they gave him a splendid funeral. I say, and when Hannah died, he buried her beside his father. Then Tobias went back to his wife and his son in Ecbatana. Okay, yeah. So anyway, I just remembered something because I did some research on this. So this guy right here, when it says, and this what was throwing me off. But you go to what I just read. It says, uh, it's verse 10, chapter 14 of the book of Tobit. It says, "My child, see what Haman did. That you see that word Ahiqar.
Yes, sir.
That's Mordecai, captive name.
Ah,
Yeah, that's Mordecai, captive name. It just dawned on me. I was that's my back in the day when I was searching everything out. But yeah, that's Mordecai. Just like Zerubbabel captive name is Sheshbazzar, and Daniel captive name is Belshazzar. This Mordecai captive name right there. Ain't that something? So let's
yes,
read it. You'll
that
see what
is
I'm talking about.
something.
Yeah, let's read it. Let me read it. It says that's page 130, right? Page
Yes, sir.
130. So look at this. Let me read it again, then you'll see what I'm talking about. It says, uh, my child, see what Haman did to Aqua, right? So I put Mordecai there, who had brought him up, how he plunged him from light into darkness, and how he quitted him, right? Yet Aqua was saved, and the others were recompensed and disappeared in the darkness. So Haman was killed, but Mordecai lived, right?
Right.
Haman had set it up to kill Mordecai on the gallows, but he ended up on the gallows. Mordecai lived. You see that?
I see
That's
that.
just
That last part of
right,
what we read in chapter 6, where Haman's fall predicted that
right,
all. Wow.
right. So that's his captive name. That's Mordecai captive name right there. It just dawned on me. I remember back in the day searching that out. It just, yeah. So that's his captive name. Because you notice that don't come up, and all of a sudden in Tobit it's the end. His name start coming up, yeah. So check it out. Do the research on it.
Yes, sir.
Ain't that
As
something?
we didn't, yes, sir. We didn't read it in chapter 7, but it says that on at 7 and 10. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
That's in what?
Wow. That's in the Book of Esther, chapter 7.
Okay, yeah, right, exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
that Aqua is Mordecai. That's,
Hmm.
that's his captive name. Yeah. Okay. Anybody got anything else before we go? Anything they want to shine a light on?
Yes, sir,
Yeah,
brother Leonard. I just want to excuse me, sir.
go ahead.
I just had wanted to point out something at the beginning where it says the Book of Esther under the authorship, right?
Right.
It says many ancient and even some more recent commentaries have attributed the book of Mordecai. Now it says right there, the book of Mordecai,
Right.
on the basis of chapter 9, verse 20, and perhaps also chapter 9, verse 32. But then they want to come back and say, well, this is not impossible.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
so it's telling you it's the book of Mordecai, but they want
Right.
to discredit that and say no.
Right. Exactly. Like I said, because of what they did in the New Testament, they had to come back and try to justify it by putting uh, names of women in the Old Testament to make it look like that was normal. Because that's not normal. What you see happening in the New Testament, it ain't normal. Okay, like I said, when at the burial when JC died, 9 women at the burial. They don't have nothing to do with the burial. We was reading in the book of Tobit when Tobit's wife said that she attained to women's work. So it's a place of it's things that they do and it's things that's not pertaining to them. And so being at a grave site wasn't their job. It had nothing to do with them. They might if they was there because of a funeral, but the role that they showing them in the New Testament, what they doing, that's not their role. That's not part of our culture. So like I said, so they wanted to come back in the Old Testament and try to justify it by doing what they did with these books, renaming some of them and put women in there, like Judith. They did those things, but it wasn't in the way that they wrote. Yeah, so I want to shine light on one more thing. I didn't, I said it before, but I try to plug it in every chance I get. So I was telling you that the chess bazaar is Zerubbabel, right? And we just saw that guy Equar is Mordecai because they name just like our names have changed. It ain't nothing new under the sun. We got over here, they changed our name. We got our captive names to this day. So I'm in Genesis chapter 14. So we know at the Tower of Babel in chapter 11, Nimrod was over at the Tower of Babel. And you would assume that Nimrod had got killed at the Tower of Babel, but he didn't. Go to chapter 14 of Genesis, says, and like I said, you have to search these things out. Don't take my word for it. So chapter 14 of Genesis, the battle of these kings. When you understand what these kings are, these giants. So it says, and it came to pass in the days of Armathar, king of Shinar. So that's Nimrod. His name didn't change. He got another name because he survived. He survived what happened at the Tower of Babel. And so you go Google that name, and then it means something. It's got something to do with uh, he who survived or something like that. But Armathar, see that Armathar, king of Shinar, and you read right over it, but that's Nimrod, king of Shinar. He didn't get killed, so he comes right back again, and he got 5 cities again right here. He got 5 cities, just like he had 5 cities over there in chapter 11. So when the Lord destroyed the Tower of Babel, Nimrod didn't die. That's him right here. Armathar, king of Shinar, Arad, king of Elas, these 7 kings. Like I said, these are all giants. Yeah, something to think about. Okay, anybody else got anything before we go?
No,
Everybody.
sir. Just I just wanted to add how Haman tried to, he hated the Jews so much and didn't even know he was under that leadership by Esther, and that when he tried to turn it around and have someone killed, he got killed.
Exactly. Like when you understand who our God is, he tells us that he's not a God that's far off. He's right there, near at hand. So he's looking at
Right.
everything that Haman was doing and cut him off. That's what I said. When you understand that and understand these stories and understand who our God is and how he operates, we don't have nothing to worry about.
Right, because
Like,
you can see how you can connect the dots. You can't connect it
yeah,
with the New Testament with what the Lord of Hosts does in the Old Testament.
exactly. Right. So when he deliver us, we deliver. It's not, not this like we see happening 400, 2019, and 5 years later we still here. That ain't how it happened. That ain't how you work. Okay. So with that being said, we say shalom, shalom, another shalom. I'll see everybody tomorrow. We'll be on Clubhouse for our meetings of Bible. Okay. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom.